click on it and you will see a page like this. And here we are going to create a new project. Create new project. For now we try to do it simple. Search here console application. We're going to create a project for console application without any user interface. Select it and then next, name it hello world. When you give your project a name, your solution also automatically gets a name based on your project, but you can rename it whatever you want. For example, tutorials, the location of the project. For example, I choose it here, so, and then next, and then here you choose the framework, the .NET framework version. I have this long-term support, .NET 6 and .NET 7 is standard term support. I go for long-term support and then click on create. Now you see a lot of tabs, menus and options here in Visual Studio, but in the real world, when you work as a software developer, software engineer, or as a programmer, you don't use more than 90% of this. You do most of the things using your keyboard, and for some stuff you use the console or terminal. But if you come a lot here, you will come to the build or to extension or maybe to the tools or to the view. So don't worry about all these options and things that you see here. Probably it is overwhelming for now, but later you will get used to it and everything will be very clear. In case you don't see this window on the right side, you can come to the view and then this is called Solution Explorer. Click on it and you will see it. And here we have just one C# file, program.cs. Let me run the application. As you see, this is hello world, and just press any key to exit or terminate the program. This is how the old version of .NET for a simple C# file looks like. Usings are used to import external assemblies or libraries in your class or in your namespace to use in your functions and in your class or in your project. Comments in C#. So when you want to comment a single line, you can just use / 2 times / for multi-line comment. You can use / with a star and then close it with the star and /. Now you can write stuff inside of it, like this was not a good practice. In this part we learn about the syntax of C#. So about the syntax of C#. In C# you have parenthesis, you have a semicolon, you have curly braces. If you don't use this stuff, your application will not work and you will see errors. For example, if I want to initialize a variable, integer age, and assign a value to this, for example 13, without semicolon, I see an error, and if I want to run this, I see here a message: there were build errors. Would you like to continue and run the last successful build? Because there are errors, so I say no. And here on the bottom, Visual Studio tells me where the problem is. So it says expected semicolon, we are in line 10. This is line 10 and expected a semicolon. And there is also some warnings. You have error, you have warning. The variable age is assigned, but its value is never used. So here we assigned a variable, but did not use actually its value. So in .NET, in C#, when you do not use a variable or a library, you should not initialize or assign it, and do not import any library or class into your code that you don't use, because it makes the size of your application larger and makes it slower, heavier. Primitive types in C# and in .NET. As you see here, we have different data types. We have integer numbers or integral numbers, some people say, and we have real numbers, and we have characters and boolean. And for each type we have again different types. For integer we have byte, short, int, long, and for real number float, double, decimal. For characters we have char, and then for boolean, for conditionals we have boolean, and then the type name is bool. In .NET it is system.boolean, and then this is the size that each type takes in the memory, and that is in the range, in which range your number or the value should be for each type. It is very important that you learn to use the types correctly and efficiently. A type is not just a word. For example, I see many people using integer for byte, integer for short. You know that if your number is in the range of 32,000 and you use integer, instead of 2 bytes, your variable takes 4 bytes, and you don't have only one variable. You have many variables in your program and in your application. So when you declare a variable with not correct type, you take more space in the memory. It is possible that you overload your memory and your application works very slow and it becomes very heavy. So you should use types correctly, and depending on the range of each type, you use that type. In real numbers you have also 3 different types. As you see, here is the C# type or keyword, and this is approximate range. This is the range that it takes. This is float, double decimal, and this is the precision. It is also important that you know and the size that it takes in the memory, and the .NET type, what they call it is single double decimal, and you can get that type by using system single, system double, system decimal. To learn more about floating points types like float, double, decimal, visit this link. I put this link also in the description. The types are very important, and you should learn to use them efficiently and correctly. What is a variable? A variable is a given name or an address to a storage location in memory where you can store a value temporarily while the program is running. When your program stops, that variable does not exist in the memory. Constant. What is constant? It is an immutable variable. Declaring a variable. To declare a variable, first write the type of the variable, then the identifier. About the variable, you have three terms: declaring, assigning, initializing. When you declare a variable, you do not give any value. You assign a value, you give a value to your variable, as you see here. When you initialize a variable, you give its type, identifier, and a value. Initializing or declaring constant, it is important that you know you cannot declare a constant without value. So if I remove this, I get an error, and it says a const field requires a value to be provided. So even the Visual Studio tools tells you that it is required, a value is required for a constant. So the type is float. We need to add an if at the end. About the identifiers in C#. C# is case sensitive, so H is not the same as A, uppercase, E, or one of these or any other. If all of them is lowercase, you cannot use otherwise. An identifier cannot start with number, as you see here. So here you see that it is integer int 1 1 and then assign value 1. It cannot start with a number, so the error gone. So an identifier cannot include white space. This includes white space, and you have here an error, so remove it, and then it has to be uppercase. An identifier cannot be reserved C# keyword such as type name, integer, int, string, or any other keyword like class, namespace, or any other C# keyword. As you see here, I used int. If you want to use, you can actually add an underscore, or you can add an character at the beginning or anywhere, so that it is not the same as C# reserved word. For example, I add here string. It is not the best practice, and it is not used. C# developers don't like to name their variables this way, but in case you want, you can, there is a workaround for this. Instead of this, you just call what that number is. So the identifier of your variable should be something descriptive, something that tells about that variable. And an identifier also cannot have a hyphen. You cannot have 5 for something. You get an error. You cannot have hyphen at all in C# as identifier or variable name. And here you have also another error because it is a C# reserved word. So change it to test. The error gone. Your identifier should be something meaningful and full name, not something like shortcut. This should be like first name is Khalil. This is my first name. So because there is also another one. This is a local variable or function named first name is already defined in this scope. So you cannot declare a variable with the same identifier or name in the same scope twice. About the naming conventions, we have camel case, Pascal case, and Hungarian notation. Camel case is the first letter of the first word lowercase and the first letter of other words uppercase. You have Pascal case, the first letter of all words are uppercase, and in Hungarian notation you have first a shortcut of or abbreviation of the data type, and then the first letter of all other words are uppercase. In C#, you should never use Hungarian notations. This is not used. Almost nobody uses Hungarian notation. Now I show you how to declare primitive types. So to declare a byte, you should know the range of your number. This is maximum byte takes maximum 255, and I initialized a byte with 256. And now when you hover over this, it says constant value 256 cannot be converted to a byte because now it is above the range of byte. So if I change this back to 55, the error goes away. So maximum that value, and the other one is short. It is maximum 32,767, and I give just 168. There is an error. The constant value this much cannot be converted to a short because it is now in the range of actually integer. Change it back to what it is. And another one example of integer, it is maximum 2 billion this much. I just gave it one value above the maximum, that's why it is error. And the other one is example of longest, again one value above the maximum, which is gives error. So the same will happen if you give it minus that much, which is also not allowed. If it is now, if you give it one value below the minimum, it gives again error. You see, it has to be on that exact range, otherwise you get error. And then to declare a float, you have to also add an if or if suffix at the end of the value to tell the compiler that this is a float type. And the same with decimal. When you declare decimal or initialize a decimal value, decimal variable, I mean, add an aim at the end, Otherwise, if you don't add them, the compiler will treat them as double. Now for double, you don't need any suffix. And then important thing about initializing char type, it must be in single quote. If you give double quote, you get error. And then to declare a boolean, you say the name of the type bool, then example bool, and then you give true or false. You cannot give here one or character. It cannot be any of that. It must be true or false. Now let us talk about scope in programming. What is scope in programming? When you declare a variable, that variable has meaning in its scope. When a variable is declared outside the scope, it is available for another scopes and also the scope that the variable is inside. Let me give you an example. Here I declare an integer like test 20, and I gave it 20, and I open here an scope console.writeLine, and I open here another scope integer test 30. I give it 30 and int test 40, and then test 40, and I try to reach 40 outside of its scope. Test 40. You see that for test 20 I get no error, but for test 40 I get an error. What it says is the name test 40 does not exist in the current context. So scope is actually in .NET context. Test 20 is in this context, but test 40 is not in this context. And I copy this, Control C and then Control V. Here it is fine, and there is no error and no problem. In the older version of .NET and C#, you don't get any error for undeclared variable or a variable out of the scope, but you get error during the compilation of your program. Now in the newer version of .NET and C#, you get directly error and warning during coding, not only during compilation or during execution. Text 40 available only inside of this, and it has meaning inside of this. But you can still use test 30 and test 20. When it is outside the scope, you have access to that variable, but if it is inside a scope, you cannot reach it from outside. For example, if I want to copy this, paste here, and I get no error because this is the parent scope and this is the child scope, and the variable is let's say inside the parent scope. Again, if I declare here another variable in test 50 and I get 50, the 50 is accessible only inside of this scope, and if there would be any other child scope, to it is child scopes and not to outside the scope. A variable is accessible to all the codes inside its scope and inside its child scope or context. It is good to know that a variable is not also accessible before it is declared or initialized. As you see, test 50 and also this console.writeLine is in the same scope, but I am trying to access it before it is initialized. So the same thing happens here that says cannot use local variable test50 before it is declared. So before it is declared, you cannot use it. But after that, I want to move it. There is no error, and I can access it and use it in my program. But the functions and classes are not like that. You can access a function from anywhere you want, because automatically a function has global scope. When you compile your code, functions are automatically outside all the other scopes, and functions are on the top. So that's the reason you can use a function anywhere in your program. Let's talk about overflowing in .NET. When the value of a variable is out of the range of the type of the variable, overflow happens. But in the newer version of .NET, you get error immediately. Let me show you an example. Now we have here byte. The identifier is 1. Let me change it to something meaningful. Example byte. So now the maximum value is 255, and now its value is also 255. I want to increase this by 1. Example by plus 1, and I see here an error. In the older version of .NET and C#, you don't get this error. If you will work in a project with the older version of C# and .NET, there is a workaround for that, and you can use checked keyword and then put your variable, declare your variable inside of this checked scope. Another example, for example, here I give it 255 and try to increase it by 1, and I still get here error because I am using the newer version of .NET and .NET 6 and the newest version of C# tools, and I get error. In case you work with the older version, you can use this to check for the overflow. So if overflow happens in your program, instead of that you see here 255 plus 1 is normally 256, but in overflow you see 0, which is not what you expected. When you want to compile your application, there will be an error in the check, and then your application will not compile until you fix the issue or the problem. But without check it, your application will compile successfully, but it will not work as you expected. So this is all the concept of overflow in C#. Now let us talk about non-primitive types. String, array or list, enum, class are non-primitive types, and I teach you how to use them and how to declare them. So I wrote all this stuff to save times, because we will talk about a lot of stuff, and I don't want that the video gets too long. So string, how to declare a string. This is how you declare a string. The first, that is the type, is string, and then identifier, for example country name. Now this is how you declare. and you can assign a value, country name Belgium. To initialize a string variable, you say string identifier name or text, then value. So you see here an error. In C#, there is difference between single quote and double quote. You cannot use single quote for string, and you cannot use double quote for char. For example, if I want to declare a char that we talked about in primitive data types, char example, and if I want to give it double quote A, for example, then I get here an error, and it says cannot implicitly convert type string to char. And this is when you initialize a variable and a string or a char with or any variable with double quote, it is automatically a string. For char it is single quote, and for string it is double quote, and there is difference. So working with a string, first concatenation. Concatenation is when you want to join two or more strings together. For example, here I have first name, last name. I used add sign to concatenate these two strings. Let me run the application. See, this is my full name, Khalil Kazemi. So now you see they are joined together. There is no space. So to give it more space, you can add another add sign, and in between you can here add double quote and space. If you run again, you see here between this and space. An important thing about concatenation, when you concatenate an integer or a number with a string, it becomes a string. For example, here I have a short, which is a number, and a string is the city. If I want to console log this, this is postcode and city 9000 in Joguri. Now you see there is no error. These two variables are from different types. So if you by mistake try to add a variable together or do some operation on two numbers, then they will be get concatenated. Let me show you an example. We haven't talked about another keyword in C# var. We will talk about it later. So just I give here an example 5 and another one number 2. I gave this one double quote 5, and I want that result is going to be number 1 num1, let's say, plus number 2. We expected 10, but we do not get what we expected. So console.writeLine, the result is so you see 5 plus 5, and the result is 55. This is not 55, this is just a string 55. Make sure that you understand this, that if you want to do some operation, some arithmetic operation on string and number, they will get concatenated instead of adding together or any other arithmetic operation. String interpolation is that you, like a template, can use a variable inside the string template. So if I uncomment this, and then you will see the result. See, string interpolation. I am Khalil Kazemi. As you see also here, intro is this string, and I added these two variables, first name and last name, inside curly braces with and the beginning $sign. Without $sign, they are not going to work, and we will see it in a second. Without $sign, you see I am curly brace first name, curly brace last name. So $sign is very important for string interpolation. So you can do a lot of stuff with string interpolation. You can do any other operations like plus 3. You see that 5 plus 3 is 8. I am Khalil Kazemi 8. I am not 8. So it is just an example that you can do a lot of stuff. You can do all the things that you can do inside a function or inside a C# file. You can do inside of this curly braces. So another thing is template string or format string, that you have a string curly brace 0, and then based on how many templates you want, you gave the index number. So you see here I use this template screen template, and then value for each of these templates. This is 0 is the first one, 1 is the second one, and you can add as much as you want, and then you provide value for them. And you can use that in your application for many cases. It is very helpful, very useful when you work with the user interface with views that you can insert data in your view. Probably you will see a lot of this example in the future in the real world. And now let me show you what it does. So template text format string, then the value that I provided 20 and 30. Let me show you here. This 20 is for template 0, and 30 is for the template 1. This way you can add anything you want to this template. So accessing a string, here we have first text 1. We want to get the first character. Because we get only one character, I declared this as char. So as I told you, you should use types efficiently and correctly. So since we get only one character, it is best to use char, not a string. We also can use a string, but it will take more spaces in the memory. Let me show you that. Getting the first character, and then first character. So when you want to get the first character, you just use the name of the variable, and then you use this brace, and then you give a value for the index. So everything in programming starts with 0. The first one here is not 1, the first one is 0. So that is the index number. If we want to get the last one, we should count here from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. If you want to get the last one, you give here 18. Something also important, that a white space is always a character. It has an index, it has a keyboard code, and it has everything. It is the same character as any other alphabet character. Make sure that you consider that when you writing or programming. So let us run this. So getting the first char, and the first char is T here, as you see. And let me give it 18. We count it, probably it is going to be okay. If it is not, we will get an error. So the last one is T. Let us see, the last one is T. Yes, so 18 is the last one. You can do a lot of stuff with string. There are many methods. We will get into that after I teach you about class and object-oriented programming, and that time you will learn about conditionals, loops, and everything else, and then we can talk more about advanced stuff about string. Now we are using 18 to get the last one. There is a better way, an easier way to get the last item of a string, an array, a list, and anything else. You can also get the index of an item in a string. We use the index here to get an item from a string. Here we use the item to find the index of that item in that string. So the index of h is 1. The index of h is 1, as you see here. T is 0, h is 1. So this is how you get the index of an item in a string. Another thing is substring, that you can get the rest of a string from a specific index or a specific character in that string. So we say that we want the rest of the string from index 5. So what is index 5? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from I. There is a bug here. Cannot use such thing comma in console.writeLine. So we are concatenating here these two strings, the substring and this substring. I should say this is substring. You can pass here another argument, which is the length that you want, for example, only 2 character or 1 character or 3 character on any other character. Now we console log this one. You see, this is substring is a test text. Is a test text. So as I told you, this is index 5 to the rest of the string, because we are not specifying the length of the substring. But if we specify the length of this, for example, we say 5 character from index 5, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which will be up to this capital T of test. So this is 5 character. I gave it 15 to show you that you will get an error, because it is out of the range of it. You get an exception that says out of range exception. Index and length must refer to a location within the string. Argument, param, name. So it says that from index 5 you want to get 15 character, but there is not 15 characters. From that point we have only 14 characters. So That's why you get out of the range exception or error. So if I change it to 14, it will be gone. Now we get the whole string from that index without any error. About special characters, there are cases that you should use, that you have to use single quote, double quote, backslash in your string. But inside a string, you cannot use them. But there is workaround, and you can escape them. So to escape a single quote, you use backslash single quote. To escape double quote, you use backslash double quote. To escape backslash, you use backslash, and then you can also insert new line, you can insert tab, you can insert backspace using backslash n backslash t backslash b. I show you in an example. So first we want to escape this one single quote. Without that, this is going to be like that. See, it is right, and you have the single quote there. Here we escape double quotes because otherwise here you get a problem. Here you see this is an error, so to escape that you use backslash console log, okay, run the application, okay. What you are learning is called programming, so we get that double quote in our string. For backslash, this character is called backslash. You see, if you remove that, you get an error. So an example of new line, tab and backspace. This is new line, so it went to the new line. This is tab, so this is in the tab, and this is after the tab. You see here a big white space, and backspace is used to remove the last character from a string. Actually, the character before you insert the tab, the backspace. You have the backspace and text. So you see here that in the backspace we have E there, but now here we don't have E. The backspace removed actually the E. Another thing in non-primitive types is array or list. So how to declare an array is like you give the type, and then you give this square brackets, and then the identifier of the array to initialize or assign value to an array. You can use new, and then the type, and again square brackets and some values. Here we have without the new keyword. We will learn about new keyword after we learn about classes and object-oriented programming. Here I initialized an array of string with some values. As you see, New York, Ghazni, Brussels, Paris, and then an array of integer like postcodes, so with values inside the curly braces. I don't know, you call it curly brackets or curly braces, but you know what I mean. And then another way to also, there is a difference between an array that you initialize or declare this way and a list. We will talk about this type list also later. So here you have a list new, and you can add item to your list using add, or if you know the item that you want to add to your list, you can also use curly braces, curly brackets, and then insert the item. The item must be the same type as the type that you gave to your variable. So if I change this to string, I will get an error here, ABC, and it says cannot convert from string to int. So this is now a string and cannot convert it to integer. So the items of an array must be the same, must have the same data type as the array that you declared. You can declare an array with a specified length and with any type that you want. You can declare an array with the type, with the length and the value. So now here I specify the length that must be 2 and not longer than that or more than that. If I add here more like another value false, then I get here an array initializer of length 2 is expected. It means that length of this array must be 2, not more than that. So if you remove, you also get error. If you it must be 2, not less, not more. This way you don't get error immediately, but if you run, for example, this is index 0, this is index 1. I try here to add an item to the index 2, which is the third item in the array. So let me run the application. You will see an error here. You see an exception, says exception unhandled. We will learn about handling the exceptions. Index out of range exception. An index was outside the bounds of the array. So if you specify the length, you should handle the exceptions. You should make sure that the length is as you specified at the beginning. So we also have multi-dimensional arrays. You can have 2-dimensional arrays, you can have a 3, 4, and any n-dimensional array in any programming language. Actually, you can have that. Multi-dimensional arrays are used in data science, in scientific stuff, but not in building some application that they require you to have multi-dimensional array. You will never face it. I have never faced in my whole life to do something with 2-dimensional array. But when I was learning programming, I had to do some stuff with 2-dimensional arrays. It is used in mathematics, in physics, in chemistry and biology. That is used multi-dimensional array. So to declare a 2-dimensional array, you give the data type and then square bracket and then 1 comma, which means it is 2-dimension, and then you can use new and then the type and again the same thing like another stuff. And inside of this, the difference is you have one main, which is actually the first dimension, and inside you have another curly braces, which is the second dimension. And then the same thing, you can also specify the length of this 2-dimensional array with the length of the sub arrays is 4. Now it is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and every sub array also the length of 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or every sub array has only 2 items, so the length is 2. This is with a string data type. So here is a three-dimensional array that you have two commas. You have the type again with the new keyword. You should do the same again, integer, square bracket, and then comma comma, and then each dimension has items. You can also specify the length of each dimension and the items of each dimension. So how to find the length of a list? Everything has a length in programming. If you declare your array this way, you can use length. In this example, I console write line postcodes, so not linked. I should write also some stuff here. The length of postcodes, and then run the application. It says the length of postcode is 4. If you have actual list, then you use count. Console.write line, the length of list, I say here list of integers dot count. So this is a method. It is not like an attribute. So it is a method you have to use in every method that you want to call and use. You should use here brackets. Run the application, and then it says the length of list is 3 because we have there only 3 items, 1000, 2000, 3000. How to access an item in a list? Integer array item, post codes. We want the second item, so we use the index number of that item to get that item. So the index number of the second item is 1. Console.write line, array item. Let us write something. Array item, array item 5000. Let us check if the second item in postcodes is 5000. This is postcodes and this is 5000. If you want to get a string from an string array, you should say string item cities. Let me change that to string item. Let's see if it has. So Paris. To modify an item in a list or in an array. So let us declare here a list of string test str. Just give a b c d e f. All the namings that I use now in this tutorial are just for learning, and because these are not so important that should be so descriptive and corrected, but you should not use namings like this or identifiers like this in production or in a real project. Test string is a bad name. String item is a bad name. Array item, we want to modify def to something else. We say here test is string and the index of def is 1. We give a new value for that, x, y, z. And then here I console dot write, I say second item before, and then I bring this, copy this and use this, and then I copy this and bring this down. It's a second item after. It is run the application. And this is second item before def, second item after x, y, z. So this is how you can modify an item in an array. So we have also in type topic explicit type declaration versus implicit type declaration. When you use the type name to declare a variable like string city name Brussels, this is explicit type declaration that you tell the compiler what the type of your variable is. There is another keyword in C# that you can declare a variable without giving it its type. So you let the compiler decide what the type for that variable is, for that data is. So that keyword is var. Var my number, for example, is 1 2 3 4, and then you say var my name is Khalil. So in this case, when you hover over var keyword, it says it is system.32, as you see here. But when you hover over my name, the var in my name variable, then it says system.string, and here it is number, here it is string. It knows from this double quote. So this is useful when you do know the type of your variable. You should not use var just like that. You should use it when you do know exactly what the type is. And this is created for such a situation that the compiler decides for the type. So it is important that you also learn about var in C#. And another thing is that you cannot reassign any value to a const variable. Const is used when you do not want to accidentally change the value of that variable in any part of your application. If you try to change, you get error. We have also type conversion. We have implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. When two types are kind of compatible with each other, there happens implicit type conversion. For example, here I have type byte and type integer. I assign the value of type byte to an integer. So this is 1, and the value of int I will be also 1. There happens implicit type conversion, so from byte to integer, there is no data loss, there is no problem, and this happens safely. The compilers also does not complain. And here I have integer, and I have a float. Is 1, I assign the value of integer to float. So 1 become 1.0 if. So explicit type conversion or casting. That is what we explicitly convert a type to another type. Like here we have byte2 I2, which is this integer 1, and we explicitly gave it to bind. The chance of data loss is here. See here you get an error, says cannot implicitly convert type into a byte. Here it converts implicitly from byte to integer, but here cannot convert from integer to byte. It also says that an explicit conversion exists, or you missing a cast. So casting or explicit type conversion is that you add the name of the type inside the bracket before that variable name. So byte. There is no complaining now, but we will see a problem here. So here we have float point float f2 2.5 if, and then here there is a problem, there is a chance of data loss, so you get an error. You can actually change this to integer by calling int, and you see no error. But the chance is that you lose some data if, for example, you give a value to your float that is way beyond the range of integer, then you will lose some data. We see here an example of that. I have here an integer of 10,500, and I give that value to a byte. Implicitly, the compiler does not like that. It complains and does not want to do that because there is the chance of data loss. So the chance is that you lose data, and you lose data, and I show you in a minute. So now I explicitly change the type from integer to byte. So it stops complaining because the range of byte is much less than the range of integer. So a byte is, as I told you before in the previous chapters, it is maximum 255. Here we get what we did not expect. So I run the application. I get here 4. I got 4 instead of 10,500. If I change this, for example, to 1000, and I give here also some message that is understanding after explicit type conversion. Concatenating a number to a string, and then you see after explicit type conversion that was 1000 and we got 232, so we lost data. So you should consider this when you try to explicitly convert a type to another type. A type is not just a word, a type is created for a different data size, the size of the data on the memory. So here is another example that I want to actually convert to byte this string. You can also convert that. here is 1235, and this is a string, so you can convert it to byte using the convert class in .NET, and use to byte because we explicitly here specify the type. And we console.log, and I bring this so here what happened, we got an exception. It says unhandled exception. I will teach you about handling the exception in the later chapters. Here it says value was either too large or too small for an unsigned type. So because we use the convert to byte, we got this error. Otherwise, if we change this to integer, I change this to int, stop this, call to int 32, it is in integer, we will not get any error, and I want to bring it to byte, from integer to byte. Besides, we just name convert to byte, and we convert x, y, z, and I want to show you that x, z after conversion. So, and let us see. Again, we got error because we use this class. If I remove this class and use some casting like byte, we don't get the error, no problem, no complaining. But we got 211 instead of 1235. So we lost data here. And how to handle exceptions, I will teach you in the later chapters. Now, non-compatible types. We can convert from integer to byte, from float to integer, and between the same family we can explicitly convert from one type to another type. But there are non-compatible types that you cannot actually explicitly convert a string to integer, or integer to string, or string to boolean, integer to boolean, and any other types. And that's why there are methods and tools in .NET that you can use to convert from non-compatible types or between non-compatible types. So here we have number one. Say cannot explicitly convert from string to integer. So we have to use convert class or int.parse. These two methods are available in .NET class library. So you have convert to, anything. You can convert to boolean, convert to, as I show you here, converting to boolean and the number one to boolean, and then converting to a string. This is an integer to a string. Here we convert to short, this 100 to short, and then here to integer. This is a string with a number inside of it, but you cannot convert ABC to an integer. It is not logical, and it is not possible. You can convert a string of number to number. We talked about when to use and how to use data types. There is also something important that is beyond the scope of this course, is many methods that each data type has. So arrays or lists have many methods that you can use. A string has methods, useful methods that you can use, number or integer. has many useful methods that you can use. I will talk about data type methods or variable methods in another video. For now, just know that every type has many useful methods that make working with types and variables very easy. In this chapter, I teach you about operators and different types of operators in C# or in programmings. When you learn all these operators in C#, it is the same in all another programming languages like Python, Java, C++, even JavaScript and any other programming languages. So first, arithmetic operators which are used for computation, calculation. So the first one is add operator, which is used this simple add sign. Subtract is used this sign. Multiply, you saw or learned this stuff also at school. Divide, remainder of division is this, and then increment operator and decrement operator is this way or another way. And then for increment or decrement operator, we have postfix increment or decrement and prefix increment and decrement, like a plus plus or a minus minus for decrement. And for prefix increment, we have plus plus a, and for decrement we have minus minus a. There is something important about arithmetic operators. Consider the order of operation or precedence of operation when you work with arithmetic operators in your program. Now let us use these operators in example. For example, we have int. So these operators are used with number. You cannot use them with a string or text. Integer number 1, for example, we have 5. In number 2, for example, 10. Int add, we use add operator. Add result num1 plus number 2. If you use add operator with the string, it is concatenation. This is a side note. Print the result to the console. Result of add operator, and here you see the result of an operator, which is 10 plus 5, 15. And in the same way, we are going to do the subtract operator. We change this to 2, and then change this to minus, and then 1. The result of subtract operator, and we see 5. It is 10 minus 5 is 5. You're going to multiply and change in this the result of just doing something fast, and then it is 10 times 5 is 50, and then let us call it only result. Here is also another result variable in this file. So result, now we are going to use division operator, division or divide operator, sorry. So 10 divided by 5 is 2, that we know from school. The remainder of 10 divided by 5 is 0. Now let us talk about comparison operators. We have equal operator, we have not equal operator, we have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and these are the operators. Let's do some examples. Now we use just console write line to see the result, but in the future, after I teach you the conditionals, we will use them in conditionals or if statement. Example, seven, and then another one, and example 1, let us even 9, and the result of these operators are always Boolean. So we check boom. Is that equals to, it is not a good naming, so it is 7 and then 9. Result 7 is equal 9. And write it in the console write line is equal result run the application is equal, says false, because 7 is not equals to 9. And now let's check the not equal. It is not equal, is true, is not equal, says true because 7 is not equals to 9, so it comes true. And let's just check the greater than. Is 7 greater than 9? Is 7 greater than 9? False, because it is not. And let us check greater than or equals to. Is 7 greater than or equals to 9? So greater than or equals to is greater than and equal sign. Again false. Is 7 greater than or equals to 9? It is not bigger than 9 and it is also not the same as 9, so false. and then is less than. Is 7 less than 9? Is 7 less than 9? This is true, because 7 is less than 9. Less than 9 or equals to is 7 less than or equals to 9. We change also this. We run the application. Is 7 less than or equals to 9? This is true, because it is. So as you saw, the result of comparison operators is always a Boolean value. It is false or true. Now let us talk about assignment operators. Uncomment this. I will share the whole file with you guys on my website if you want to read them or keep them. So assignment operator is equal sign. An addition assignment is add sign with equal sign. Subtraction assignment, you see it here. Multiplication, division are here. So examples, we have int x, y, z, this 21. This is assignment operator. So we just assigned a value to a variable. So the first one is done. So to use addition assignment, you just add some number to the same variable in a very easy way. Plus sign, equal sign, for example 3. We added 3 to this variable. It is the same as doing x, y, z, assign x, y, z plus 3. These two line code are the same. They are doing the same thing. Print that in the console. Console write line. See, first you see 24. 21 plus 3 is 24, and we are doing below here the same thing, but in a different way. We adding 3 again to the same variable, so it added 3 2 times to that variable. So we added 3 here. We can subtract some numbers using subtraction assignment. So we can use minus sign, equal sign, 3. We added 3 here to the variable and we take it back. So 24 and back 21. Multiplication assignment. We are going to multiply 21 by a number. Multiplication sign, equal sign. We want to make it time 2, for example. And the same way, you can divide a variable or a number by another number divided by 2, and we console log this. Console.write line, and we do here also console.write line x, y, z. So here plus 3, 24, minus 3, the same variable minus 3, back to 21, here times 2, 42, and then divided by 2, which 42 divided by 2 is 21. And then we have logical operators. In logical operator we have and, or, not. Let us do some examples. Logical operators are used with logical statements or expressions. For example, and the result of logical operators are also always Boolean, the same as comparison operators. The result equals to, for example, we do some math and math with comparison and the logical operator. 20 is greater than 3, for example, and is less than 2. Console write line result. One important thing about using the and or, that AND operator is always looking for false. Junior developers think that this is looking for true, but it is not true. So AND operator is checking for false and OR operator checking for true. If there is one false in an AND operator, it will stop. And if there is one true in an OR operator or in an OR expression, it will stop and then will give you the result. So let us see what it does. So it is false. Why it is false? Because the first expression is false. So it even does not check the second one. So it found a false. 2 is greater than 3, which is false. So it will not go to the second one. It gave me false. So if I change this, two is less than 3, and then here 3 is less than 2, which is not true. We have still another false here. Again false, because there is a false in our expression. So if I change this to 5, I get here true, because 2 is less than 3. This is true. And then 3 is less than 5. This is true. Both part are true, or with another word, there is no false, and it gives the true. Let us change this to OR, and let us see. It gives true because both are true, and I change this, that 2 is greater than 3. It gives true because there is one true. In OR operator, if there is one true, it gives true. In AND operator, if there is one false, it gives false. Now let us see the NOT. The result of this comparison operator is a Boolean is true or false. We can use NOT logical operator to reverse this. So whatever this is, 2 is greater than 3, which is false, and this will give the result of true. And you will see it gives true. So I change this. Now 2 less than 3, which is true, and I reverse this, it will be false. It is now false. The NOT operator is a very helpful operator in programming. It is very short, and you can, if you use it smartly, it will reduce your code by like 50%. To code fast and efficient and readable, learn how to use and when to use NOT. And wherever you have comparison operator or logical operator, think first about NOT. If is it possible to use not here. Then we have bitwise operator. Bitwise operators are used in low-level programming languages, and then in operating system API or Windows API, that if you use Windows, in socket, in encryption, and etc. Now, explaining bitwise operators more than this is beyond the scope of this course, and I will give you more examples in the future in my C++ course. In this chapter, I teach you about conditionals. If statement, if else, shorthand if else, which is also called ternary operator. Ternary operator has also shorthand, so the shorthand of ternary operator. Switch statement, break and continue with examples. There's also something useful. You can divide your code inside C# in regions. To create a region, you just add a number sign and then say region, and you can give your region a name, locus, and then number sign in the region, locus in C#, and you can open and close or collapse your region to make your code easier to read. So let us talk about if statement. So if here you have a condition and then you have the code. The condition can be anything that results to Boolean, true or false. It can be any logical operator. It can be any comparison operator. Long time ago, when there was no such thing as a user interface, or there was user interface, but it was not so powerful. At that time, console applications were very useful, very powerful, and I know many companies that still use console applications. So we can read the user input from the console. Here is how you can do it. I ask the user to enter his name, and then I give a name. Please enter your name, and I store the user input in a variable string user input equals to console.readLine. This is how you get the user input, and we check if the user input is a string that we define. So we say user input equals to, this is equal operator as I told you about in the previous chapter. So if it is equals to a string that I define here, for example, your name, my name is Khalil, we are going to tell the user back something like this. Thank you for your trust to provide us your name. And let us run this application or this program. You see here now we have please enter your name, and here you see like something cursor is moving to enter something as a user input. So I can here type something, anything. Now I enter my name, Khalil, and because Here the user input is the same as this string, so it is equal this check is the user input equals to this, so we are now using if. So now you know the if statement. If the user input is equal to the specified string, do this, do the code inside this scope or this region or this context. Whatever you see inside curly brace is that context, is that scope. So do the code inside this statement or this scope. So what is the code inside of this statement? Just for now, this console.log. We can do also some another thing like enter like result 6 plus 9 times 10 divided by 2, and then we also print that we say the result of your operation is res. So let us run this. Enter your name. This time I'm not going to enter the string that is specified and something else, x, y, z. Nothing happens. You just see the input, and the input is not the same as this string, which says Khalil, and you do not see the code that is inside the statement. So let us run it again, and this time I give it my name, and this is thank you for your trust. So the code inside the statement and the result of your operation is 51. Now we are handling only if it is true. There is also something called else. Let us copy this, cut it, and then paste inside of this below the else and if. Else if user input is equals to x, y, z, do something else. Let us this time say console dot line something like funny. Who names his kid XYZ, and with this, who names his kid XYZ. We also want to provide double quote. We learn how to escape double quote. Then the same thing here, and we escape it. And if it is also not XYZ, we give else. We have else let me say your input is not correct, please try again. Please try again, and then we are going to ask the user again, user input equals to console.read line, and we can put another if statement inside of it, a child if statement inside the else, and this time if user input is for example we console.write thank you. Let us try this. Enter your name XYZ, and then you see who names his kid XYZ, and again we are going to enter something else, not Khalil, not XYZ, something like this, and this says your input is not correct, so the code inside else, please try again. And in the try again we ask again the user to input something. This time I am going to give correct and says thank you. A tip from a guy with years experience in coding: you should use else very carefully. A user can input anything. You just handled two conditions, one for Khalil, one the XYZ, and not the rest of this. So use else only if it is safe. Otherwise, do not use else. So I hope you learned the if statement. Now let us move to the shorthand if else statement or ternary operator. The thing about ternary operator is that it gives you an output that you can store. It is not that you run a bunch of statements inside of it, and you should store the result of the ternary operator. So let us say int output. Again we ask here the user input. Here we are going to comment out this. In Visual Studio you have also on the top here, as you see here, comment out and uncomment, comment out. So enter we change it from enter your name, please enter a number. You will see something interesting here about the user input. So we check if the user input, let me change it to integer, and it says then the user input is always a string, and you cannot implicitly convert it to integer. So we take it as a string and we try to convert that to number. User input equals to or assigned to convert class not to a string to number int user input number to int 32, and we say if user input number is greater than 10. If it is greater than 10, then this is question mark. The first one is the true expression, the second one is the false. So if it is true, then return for example 11. If it is false, return 9. So the output will be either 11 or 9. If it is greater than 10, 11, otherwise 9. And inside ternary operator, you can have another ternary operator. So here we say if it is greater than 10, 11, if it is not greater than 10, 9, but here we can say again if it is less than 5, give us 4. If it is not, otherwise it is not less than 5, it is greater than 5, we say something like 6. Console dot write, we say output is output. Please enter a number. So I'm going to enter for now 7. Output is 6. Why? User input greater than 10? No. So it goes to the second part, to the false. So it was false. And then we say is the user input less than 5? 4. Otherwise it is not less than 5 because it is 7. So we got 6. In ternary operator, you have also shorthand ternary. Let me show you an example. String output, we say user input. So whatever the user input is, here give the user input, otherwise give was not what we expected. So this is shorthand ternary operator. It does not work if it is a string or some if it is a number or something. So it says if it is not an empty string or it is not null, give the user input, otherwise give the false part. Switch statement, switch, and then here you have some constant, a value like constant, and based on that value you try to do something. For example, here I say integer day 1, so we pass here the day, and here we have case is 1, we say console write line, if it is 1 we say Monday. And then break, we will talk about break in a minute. Case is 2, console dot write so let us run the program. This is Monday because the value was 1, it is 1. So you gave a bunch of cases based on the input or based on the variable that you provided to your switch statement, and if it is the case, it runs the code, and at the end it breaks from the switch statement. There is also something in switch called default. If it is default, console write line Friday, break from the default. So let us change it to 3 and run the application. It is Friday because it is not 1, it is not 2. So in short, you use switch to check for some cases, and based on that case you run some piece of codes or you do something. Now let's talk about break and continue. Break is used when you want to jump out of a statement or break a loop, completely stop it. Continue is used to escape only one time or one iteration. I will talk about break and continue after I teach you about loops. In this chapter, I teach you about loops. In C#, there are 3 main loops: for loop, for each loop, and while loop. Let me give you an example of for loop. So we have the for keyword, and then you have curly brackets. Inside of for loop, you put 3 parts. Part 1 is the variable, for example integer I, and you assign it to 0. Part 2 is how many times do you want that the loop loops or runs. So we say run this loop as long as the variable is less than 10, and then we increment the I using I++. We have here an error. A local variable I cannot be declared in this scope because the name is used in including local scope to define local parameter. Let me see. I'm going to console write line say in the local variable I, and change it to I. So there is no problem. Probably I have used I in somewhere else, that's why it does not accept it. Let's use J. J is also commended. It also does not accept J. A local or parameter name J cannot be declared in this scope because that name is used in an including local scope, so it is already used somewhere back to IIs. It is strange because normally you can use IM. So let us run this program. This 0 0 0 0. What is the reason? Because we did not specify it here to increment. So I, the initial value is 0, and as long as it is less than 10 we increment its value, and then I write it to the console. But as long as you have this condition, as long as your variable is less than whatever you specify here, you can execute whatever code you want inside the loop. See 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So 9 is less than 10 and it goes until that. You can say less than or equal to, and it prints until the 10. So the best practice for loop is that you don't give actually a constant here. Okay, you just you use loop for looping over an array or a list of data, an array of data that you get from an API or from your database. This is used in that cases. So the best practice is that you store the length of your array or list or data outside the loop, so that the loop does not execute it every single time that it runs the loop, because it is not best practice, and it overloads your computer's power and it takes more time. And so we declare here a variable, call it 10, and we say that it is less than L. Let us declare here an array of string, and we call it some cities, and based on that we call New York, for example. We say Bruce, and then we say for example Paris. And let us check loop over this. So we say now we have an array and we find the length of this array. We say some cities dot length. So run this loop as many times as the length of this array. We say if some cities II equals to New York, console.writeLine, because the city is in United States, we print out for example the country is USA, and then we say else if some cities II equals to Brussels, we are going to copy this. Then the country is Belgium, and then else the country is France. So here we check, we give a value, an index number. We say if the item with that index number is this thing, this string, New York. Say that the country is USA. If the item with that index is Brussels, is Belgium, otherwise. So we have here only 3. If this is not one of these 2, it is the last one, it is the other one. So the country is France. Let us run the application, the program. So we got the country is USA, the country is Belgium, and the country is France. And you can do whatever you want. You can do like everything inside a loop. So this is the for loop, and then we have for each loop. For each loop is used more than for loop because it is much simpler. You have for each, and then because we have here a string inside our array, and this is an array of a string, we say initialize the value of each item. We say it is a string, and this is the item. N is used to check in which array, and then we give the array curly braces, and based on we bring also our if statements here. Now we replace the some cities square bracket II with S. It is, you see, it is simpler. S represents an item in that array, the array that you give in your for each loop. Not like for each that you give the name of the array and then the index. And then again is else print that. So we have 3 items. We know all the items, and that's why we see all of them. So if I change this to Washington DC, if it is Washington DC, we don't have, and then Brussels, let us stay here, and the else also let's stay here, and try to run this. As you see, also in for each we do need the length of the array, we don't need the increment of the variable inside the for loop, so it does it automatically, everything. It is much simpler. Comment out, and then let us run. This is crazy because we say if it is that, print that, because we have here else for each item, we have also else. Let's remove the else, because what happens if you have else, if it is not the first condition, it goes to the second. If it is not the second condition, it it does what is inside the else, because else has no condition. It is like the rest of the code. So if you have the else or you don't have the else, it is the same. It will print for each item this one. But if we put this inside another if statement, if s is equals to Paris, you can also use if statement without curly braces if it is one line. Let us run it. You see, the country is Belgium and the country is France. For the first one, that is USA, it did not print that to the console because the first item was not one of these. The second item was Brussels, so it was true for Belgium, and the third one was Paris, so again true for France. As you see here, for each is much simpler, and the same thing that you can do with for each, you can also with for each, you can do whatever you want inside, you can do everything inside a for each loop. The next one is while loop. While, and then we have here an expression or condition while true. Let us say here, let's read the user input from the console. Because it is string UIP console.read line, and we have to convert this to the number int UIPN use convert class to int UIP, and then here we use UIPN less than 20. Here run this loop as long as the user input is less than 20. While loop gets executed as long as the condition inside this bracket is true. So we have here the user input. So we ask also here the user input again and again until it meets the that condition and the loop stops. Then we ask UIP user input equals to read that. We also have to keep asking the user to enter something. Please enter a number. And then inside the loop, we ask, please enter another number. Please enter another number. And we keep asking. And comment out this part because I don't want to see that. Run again. Please enter a number. I enter 5. And this asks us, please enter another number. It keeps asking as long as the number is less than 20. So I enter 10. It is please enter another number. I say 20. 20 is still not less than 20, so it keeps asking again. I say 40. Please enter another number. 50. 2, 4, 8, 7, 9, and then I accidentally hit 25. It has to stop actually. What happened here? Please another number. So to stop the program, you hit Control C multiple times. We here set as the user input, but we do not update. The reason that happened is we are not updating this one. We have to update also the other one to stop 14 another 12 15 20. It stopped because 20 is not less than 20, and you can do everything inside the while loop as well. Handling exceptions. What is handling exceptions? Why should you handle exceptions? And how to handle exceptions properly. So what is handling exception? It is when you tell the compiler, okay, Mr. Compiler, leave everything to me. I handle it by myself. Why should you handle exceptions? Let us see in the next slide. If you don't handle exceptions yourself, the system or the compiler will throw some exceptions if there would be any error. The user gets such an error, and this is not understandable for ordinary people or for non-developer. In system exceptions, you have exception message, you have exception description, and then details and stack trace. System exceptions are for developer. You can log system exceptions and read to improve your application. When an error happens, the user gets the error in a new page. In that page, there is no button to home, there is no back button, there is nothing. It confuses the user. So that is the reason why you should handle the exceptions yourself. In this example, the exception happened because of wrong data type. It says input string was not in a correct format. For example, you asked the user to enter a number and the user accidentally entered mixed number with some characters. You can handle it to send a message to the user, what you entered was not a proper number. Please try again. Without that, user gets a very complicated and understandable page. For a better user experience, you should handle the exceptions yourself. Let us jump to the code and I show you how to handle exceptions properly. Open Visual Studio, go to the search and then type here Visual Studio 2022 and click on it. Here is a console application. If you don't have a project, you can simply create a new project. This is a console application. Inside of this, we ask user to enter his age. Declare a variable string user input and then console read line to get the user input. Before that, we write a message to the user console dot we say please enter your age. The user input is always a string, so we need to convert it to number. Integer user age, we can convert a string number to an integer in two ways. One, we can use int 32.parse, and then inside of this user input, or we can use convert to int 32 and then user input. Both way is the same. It converts the string to integer. You have int 32, you have int 16, and you can directly use for example byte. For example, now let us say that it is a byte, we declare it as a byte. Please enter your age. I enter text instead of number and hit enter. In C# you have many exception types, and now in our case this is format exception, and it says it has a message input string was not in a correct format. We try it again, and this time I enter 1 2 3 and there is no problem. One way to handle exceptions is try catch. Let me show you. Try, and then we have catch. Inside the catch you have exception. So exception is a general word for all kind of exception. If any type of exception happens, it is exception, but you have a specific type of exception like format exceptions, but request exceptions, unhandled exceptions, and many other type of exception. I will show you that. And we paste our code inside of this. And now if there is any error, we console write line exception dot message handling with a new line, not only error dot message, error to string to get the whole error. If there is no error, we say thank you for your subscribe and like. So we accidentally enter some text and number, and we get here the exceptions inside the console, not inside our program. There is no red line, there is no error here, but we got it inside of the console because now we are handling it. If this was a web application, we could send a view with some user-friendly message to the user that yeah, your input was not correct. Now we say handling the exception, and then the exception says system.format exception, which is the type of the exception, and then you have exception message. Input string was not in a correct format, and then you have the exception description, exception stack trace. System exceptions always provide you enough information to fix the error. It says what happened, where it happened. So now that we handle the exception, instead of sending the exception or the error to the user, we ask the user to do it again. For example, I bring this user input here. User input, and then the age, something went wrong, please try again. And here I do this again. And if it is okay, we send a message, please like the video. Okay, now we enter 14, and it says the message inside the try block, thank you for your subscribe and like. And we try now to enter something wrong, a text, and then here says something went wrong, please try again. So okay, my age is not GHJG, so I enter my real age 30, and I say please like the video, the message inside the catch block. So here we have try and we have catch. Try is if there is good thing happens, catch is when something went wrong. If something goes wrong, you control it inside the catch block. There is also another keyword in error handling or exception handling is finally. In some cases, you need to send a message either there is an error or there is no error, and you put that inside the finally. And finally happens after the try and after the catch block are done. So it is actually finally. Let us try it. Console.writeLine. Let's put new line here, new line, and then also new line, and then new line. New line, new line. Try again. Please enter your age. We say ABC 45. Something went wrong. Please try again. So now we don't get any error message or something. The user thinks that it is fine and it is user friendly. The user can continue using the application. For example, 52. Please like the video. We enter also a new line. So message from finally, and let us do it again with a corrected message from the beginning, 25 for example. And we can thank you for your subscribe and like the code inside the try, and then we also got the content from the finally block. Now this is a very basic example. You can handle any complicated stuff inside try catch. Now let us use the system exceptions. There are built-in system exceptions you can use through new keywords to customize the system exceptions, and you can give friendly texts messages to your exceptions so that the users understand it. Here, if the name would be empty or null, you get these exceptions that argument null exceptions. The name cannot be empty, and we create here another method, static void check array. For example, we provide an array of integer with the index number, int index array. A method in C# has to return something, but if you don't return anything, you can use void to return something like nothing. So it can return a string, number, array, and anything. Or if you don't return anything, you just provide here void. So you can use system exceptions also inside try catch block. Try, let us return an integer instead of nothing. We check here if the index is not out of the range, we return the item with that index number. Otherwise, we return a message. So return array index, it returns. So to get an item from my specific index, you use a square bracket and the index number. So we get the index number through parameter. Catch And here, this is a general term for exception. You can use a specific exception type, like now we know index is out of range exception, exception. And through new index is out of range exceptions with a message, say the index number was too large or too small. So then this return actually means nothing. Remove all of this. Let us try them inside the main method. Check array. We have to provide an array. This array, and we provide an index number, for example 4, because it returns, we store the return value here. Array item, console write line array item. The item is let us try it out. And says the item is 5. What if we enter something very small or something very large? For example, here now we have 9 items, and I want to provide 10, and we will get an exception. See, the through new exception happened, and it says exception unhandled. The index number was too large or too small. If this application was with the user interface, the user would get this message. This is how you can use system exceptions with through and new keywords to customize the exception messages for better user experience, using try catch to handle the exceptions much properly. We have procedural programming and object-oriented programming, a way to write procedures or methods that perform operations on data. It is like writing codes, and the compiler will compile your code line by line from top to bottom. But object-oriented programming is a way that you create objects that contain both data and methods. We will see many examples of object-oriented programming in a minute. What are the advantages of object-oriented programming? In object-oriented programming, you have clear structure. It makes the code easier to maintain, modify, and debug. Object-oriented programming helps you not to repeat yourself. It helps you to build reusable application with less code and shorter development time. Object-oriented programming is faster and easier to execute. You will see these advantages in the examples. What makes a programming language object-oriented? So in object-oriented programming, you have a class. And what is a class? A class is a template for objects, and an object is an instance of a class. For example, here we have the class core, and we can create from this class core many objects depending on type of car, the manufacturer, and etc. As you see here, we have Peugeot, Citroen, Opel, model. If it is not clear now, don't worry. I provide you enough examples that you know the difference between class and objects. So this is an example of a class. A class is non-primitive type in C#. Also in another object-oriented programming languages, we talked about string and arrays. Those are also non-primitive types, and class and enum are also non-primitive types, and I tell you about enum in a minute. So to declare a variable with the type class, you first use the type name class and then the name of your variable or your class. It is best practice or convention that the name of your class starts with uppercase letter, and you use for the naming Pascal case. And inside a class, you can have fields or attributes. You can have properties. I tell you about properties in a minute. You can have methods and you can have constructor. I explain it from top to bottom. Here we have an attribute or a field with a type string and the name color and a value red. And the next one is private, type double, weight, and a value. So here you have a keyword, private, public, protected, internal. What are these? These are called access modifiers. Access modifiers are used for security to keep some data hidden from the user. So if there is no access modifier for a field or a method or a property, then that field, method or property is private. No access modifier, it is a private member. And then you have private. So actually, what is private member? A private member is only accessible within its class. Inside of this, if you inherit from this class, it is also not accessible. I teach you about inheritance later in this chapter. So private only accessible within its class, within the class itself, within this variable. Then you have public. Public is accessible for all classes and all objects outside its class. It is public. So protected. Protected is like private, but if you inherit from its class, you have access to that protected field or method or property. So you inherit protected member but not private member. That's the difference between protected and private. Internal is only accessible within its assembly. Then you have constructor. What is constructor? This is a way to provide initial value for your class. This is used for that. You provide data for your class, initial data. When you instantiate an object or create an instance of that class, you provide some initial value to your class. And then here you have two methods: get car caller and set car caller. In the get method, we have type string, that the return type is string, and it returns the value of private member caller. The second one is that we modify the private member using this custom method. You can also achieve this using property. It is not mandatory that you name it like get or set. You can name it whatever you want, and only the content of or the body of the method is important, what it does and what it returns. Here is this is how to instantiate an object from a class or create an instance of that class. For example, here we create an object for citron, and citron, we say citron, and say model name citron, that model name that is uh, we get the model name, and then here we want to get a private member citron.wait, and we get here an error because you have no access to private member from outside the class. And here is build tier. I want to access the build tier of this car. It is protected member. I also have no access to that, so this is like private. But if I inherit from this class, I will have this build tier that I can use inside the inherited class. And we change the course color, citron set color to white, and this will change from blue to white, or from red to white. You can get that when you get returns the value of the color field inside your object. So this one returns the value of the color attribute inside this object. You saw examples of access modifiers. So why access modifiers? It is for security reason and to achieve encapsulation. What is encapsulation? It is the process of making sure that sensitive data is hidden from users or hackers or bad users. To protect sensitive data from users or hackers, you must declare that data as private. If you want to have access to that or modify that data, you can use built-in functionalities or methods, the get or set, or you can create your own custom methods, as I showed you in the previous slide. Properties in object-oriented programming. What are properties? Properties are a way to read and modify data in a secure way, to read and modify private data. For example, think that these are inside a class. We have inside that class a private member, a private attribute called password type string. This is property. You have get method, you have set method. In the get method, we say return password, return the private member password. We have password lowercase and we have password with the first letter uppercase. So this is a convention that your properties, your methods are in Pascal case. And then you have automatic properties, like they also call it shorthand. that in your property you do not specify what it should return and what it has to modify, or what it has to return and what it has to modify. This is now we call it public int age. So you can change the age, the uppercase age, and you can get the age. You can directly modify the property itself. But here we have a different private variable or field inside our class, and we have property to get and set the value of the private field. But here in this way, in automatic properties, you directly set its own value. It is automatic, it is shorthand. This is also used to create your own type. I will show you an example of that. Here is the class. This class has also a constructor. It takes the ID of the user and it sets the ID of the user. We have here a private field name, and we use uppercase name property to return its value and to modify its value. And here it is, there is an automatic property with type date time. And here when we create an object of the class user, we set the user, we provide the ID like an argument when you instantiate or create a new object from that class. This is how you provide value to your class through your constructor. We specify the type and the name, and we set the value of the field or attribute inside the class. Here we set the name, here we get the name using this property, and we get the age, and we modify the age using this automatic property. And here we get the ID, which is public read-only int ID, and we try to modify it because we specify here that it has to be read-only, so you cannot change it. You can provide value to a read-only attribute through constructor, but after that you cannot modify it. Inheritance in C#. What is inheritance? Inheritance is a way to take attributes, fields, properties, and methods of another class to reuse the codes from another class. Properties and methods in another class, if they are public or internal or protected, you can inherit them. So private members cannot be inherited. You can prevent inheritance by using sealed keyword before the keyword class. I show you that. Terms that are used in inheritance. You have base class or parent class, and you have derived class or child class. Child class is a class that inherits from another class, and base class or parent class is just a class that is being inherited from. To inherit from a class, you use colon. Here we have the class person. It has a constructor. You can provide initial value when you create an object from this. You can give the name of the person, age, and ID. And here we have public attribute name, age, ID, and a public method display user. We have a class employee. We inherit from person. So when you inherit from a class that has a constructor, you have to create constructor inside your child class. And also the same way here you use a colon to inherit from person. Here you also should use colon and use the base keyword to provide this data that you get via your constructor. So now this class employee has all these public members. Let us create an instance or an object of the class employee. So we instantiate a new object, new employee. We give the name, the age, and ID, and when we so we have access to the method display user. When you call the display user, it writes the user data to the console. Previously I told you about the class and object. So here this is the class, which is a template, and this is an object which is an instance of this class. Now I hope you see the differences between class and object. You can create unlimited copy or instance of the class person or the class employee. To prevent inheritance, you can use sealed before your class. A class also can have access modifiers. A class also can have private access modifier, protected, internal, public. Here we try to inherit from the class person, but we get here an error. The error says here employee cannot derive from cell type. Polymorphism in C#. Polymorphism means many forms. And why polymorphism? Polymorphism helps you to do different things with the inherited methods in a class. So in a class you can have virtual and override keywords to do different things with the inherited methods. We have three classes. We have the base or parent class animal, and then we have a derived class or child class dog that inherits from animal, and then we have cat, also derived from animal. Inside the class animal we have a public method play sound. So when you inherit from a class, you get all the public methods, attributes, properties. So we have play sound by default inside the dog class and cat class. Based on what animal it is, it has to play different sound. So we provide a default sound here like meow, and for the dog woof woof, and for the cat meow with more W's. When you call this method from play sound in animal, you get this for sure. And what would you get if you call play sound on dog? What do you think? And the same thing about this. Will you get meow with more W's, and for the dog, or will you get woof woof, or you will get the same as the base class? Ready? So let us see. We got for all three the same thing. even though we tried to change, because a dog will never meow. So we tried to change it, but it did not work. All the methods you inherit from the base class, they have the first priority. So polymorphism is a way to override this behavior. Totally not what you expected, right? So here we use the virtual keyword, an override keyword, to change the behavior of a method that we inherit from the base class. Now the content of playSound method is different from the base class. Let's see. Animal playSound meow, dog playSound woof woof, and cat playSound meow. So this is what we wanted and what we expected. Abstract class in C#. What is an abstract class? This is a class that cannot be used to create objects. You can also have abstract methods inside abstract class. Abstract method can only be used in abstract class and has no body. Why abstraction? Abstraction is for hiding certain details and showing only essential information to the user. So abstraction is for security. We have class TV and we use abstract keyword before the type class to make this an abstract class. Inside this abstract class we also have an abstract public method that returns a value of type double. As you see, it has no body. Here we inherit from the abstract class TV, and we here give body or provide body for the method calculate discount price. You cannot instantiate or create object from an abstract class. So this is very protected. You can use it as a template to inherit from, but you cannot create object or instance of the abstract type or interface. So this is the error also says cannot create an instance of the abstract type or interface. But here TV new model, which is the child class, you can create an instance from the child class that inherits from an abstract class. Interface in C#. What is an interface? An interface is an abstract class. You will see that in example. By default, members of interface are abstract and public. Interface methods have no body. Bodies are provided by implement class with override keyword. So interface is a class, but you do not use the keyword or the term inherit for interface, but you use implement. You implement an interface, you inherit class. Interface can contain properties, methods, but no fields, no attributes. The naming convention for interface is that you always start with uppercase I. For example, ITV. An interface is a contract. This is very important that you understand that an interface is not like a normal class. It is just a contract. It specifies the minimum properties and methods a class must have. When you implement an interface in a class, that class must have all the properties and methods of that interface. You can inherit only from one class, but you can implement different interfaces. You will see that in the examples. This is an example of interface. So you cannot have fields inside interface. Your method has no body. And here we implement this interface inside this class laptop. This class must have price, discount, calculate price. So here again the interface, and here that we instantiate an object of the laptop. So set the price, set the discount, and calculate the price. That is just in practice. And here we have two interfaces, and we have a class kitchen that implements these two interfaces. If you implement more than one interfaces, then you separate them by comma here, as you see, and your class that implements those interfaces must have or contain all properties and methods of the implemented interfaces. So we have here two interfaces, and here we create our own type. This is the type. This is how you can create your own custom type in C#. A custom type is a class. So we tell here for this list that all the items in the list is type tools model, and this is the type. The type has a name type of string and a price type double. So we provide also bodies for these methods. Here we use the class and create object. Here is the object kitchen. We provide value for installation price, discount price, and total installation price, which is this. Here we provide data for the tools for our kitchen. So blender and its price, toaster and its price, and we create here a list of type tools model. We add the tools to the list, and then we add the list tools to our tools. As you saw in the previous slide, that the tool is type list tools model, so it has to be the same type. That's the beauty of C#, that you can provide a specific type, and it is very useful. Enums in C#. Enum is also another non-primitive type in C#. What is enum? Enum is a special class that represents a group of constants or unchangeable read-only variables. By default, the first item in the enum has the value 0. If you change the value of an item, the next item will update their values accordingly. First, to declare a variable type enum, you use the keyword enum, and because it is a class, it is a class, you use the same name convention, and you provide items or data for your enum by using comma. The first one is always 0, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here Sunday 6. You can access the data inside your enum using the dot syntax, and it is integer, but you have to explicitly convert to integer. So it is integer first workday is Monday. So here it returns 0 because the first item is always 0 unless you set another value or assign another value. So here we assigned the value 2 for the first one. So if we check, we get 2 and the rest update accordingly. So Monday is 2, Tuesday is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here I showed you, and we also can change the value of another item in an enum. So here I changed the value of Friday. So Monday is 2, 3, 4, 5, and the Friday is back 4, and then it updates the rest accordingly. So Saturday and Sunday. Items in an enum are constants. You can assign different values inside the enum, but you cannot change them later. As here I try to change the value of Thursday and assign a new value too. So you cannot change it outside the enum class. You get error because it is read-only and it is constant. Best practices in C#. First, reduce the repetition of code. If there are common codes in your application, place them at a single place and reuse them instead of repeating them. The convention for that is that you create a helper folder, and inside your helper folder you create a file with a good name, and you place all your common code there, and you can reuse them anywhere in your application. Second, keep everything separated. Keep your view separated, your view model or the data that you send to your client. When you have an application with thousands files and thousands lines of codes, then you will see how important it is to keep everything separated. Do not mix things together. So one class for one task, one method or one function for one task. Do not put different things in one class or different things in one method. Name your variables, properties, methods, and files wisely because it helps you a lot to write code, to do things faster and easier, to do not confuse yourself, to find things easy. When you work on a project with hundreds files and thousands lines of code, then you will understand how important it is to keep everything clear, clear name, understandable, descriptive names for everything, and keep everything separated. In your comments, do not explain your code. Comments in programming is not used to explain the code. The code itself has to explain itself. The code should be so clear that anyone should understand what the code does. And never tell in your comment what your code does. Just write information for yourself that helps you in the future, or for others, not about your code. Test your code before merging to master branch or pushing to production. Test it multiple times. If you're tired, do not test it. Take a break and then come back and test, and then push to master or to production. Learn to use built-in functions and methods in C# and .NET. Use the tools you got. Why? Because it keeps your code clean, short, readable, and professional. Built-in functions are created by experts, by very very professional software engineers that know how compilers work and how the machine renders your code and do things with your code, so they follow the best practice that an application has to be fast and light. If you would need external libraries for your project, first check on the .NET or C# library, then jump to third-party library, because the code that you have inside a .NET library are much better tested and secure than third-party libraries. And use the library you already installed instead of downloading it over and over again. When you install a library or a package for one of your project in your solution, you can use that package or library in your another project, in your another files, just by referencing to them. Or you can install from the offline package. That's enough for theory. Let us jump to the code and I show you everything again in practice in Visual Studio. Now I show you all those theory in practice. Let us create a class, call it a class, for example, computer. We also give this a constructor. So constructor is always the same as the name of your class. It has to be the name of your class. And then we pass like manufacturer name, string manufacturer name. We declare here a private attribute with type string manufacturer name. And at the time that we create an instance or an object of a computer, we provide the manufacturer name. So this is not the manufacturer name, is the manufacturer name. We also provide here a property to set and get the private attribute manufacturer name. So public string manufacturer name with actually just automatic attribute get and set, and a public method display computer info. And console.write line manufacturer name is manufacturer name. So you don't have to use the keyword this to access the attribute or the field inside your class. Let us create an object from this class inside the main method. So first thing, it is the type is computer. For example, we say HP equals to new computer, and then we see here an error because they said there is no argument given that corresponds to the required parameter manufacturer name of program that computer, not computer string. The first computer is the class and the second computer is the constructor. So we have to give here parameter HP, and this is an object. So we now can also get and set or change the attribute manufacturer name, but let us display that. HP dot display computer info. We run the program and it says manufacturer name is HP. So this is a class. So you learned about access modifiers that we use here, private, public, and the rest are also public. Let us create here protected field, protected string model name. We create another class here, laptop, class laptop inherits from computer, and you see here an error and it says there is no argument given that corresponds to the required parameter manufacturer name of the computer. So it tells you that you should also provide constructor for the child class. So the class that that is being inherited is called base class or parent class, and the other one is child class or derived class. Public, we should also provide constructor here, laptop, and then give also the manufacturer name, and then we call here the base and we pass the manufacturer name there. So the rest will happen automatically. You don't need to do anything else, and you also have access to the protected field, like if I want to check that inside the display computer info, also print the model name to the console. Manufacturer name is that, and then model name is model name. Now let us create an instance of laptop. So coming this out, laptop, for example, Dell new laptop, and we have to pass the manufacturer name Dell, and call the method Dell.display when you want to use a method, you should call that, and you call that using brackets. And if you have some parameters, and you have to then pass those parameters or arguments. A small side note, what you use inside the bracket as variable to use inside your method or function is called parameter, and what you pass to that method when you call that method or function is called argument. So let us check this out. So manufacturer name is Dell and model name is nothing, because we have not provided any model name, so this is empty. We can also because it is protected, if I want to like set that Dell dot model name, actually you don't get that. So model name, if I want to try to send that to model name, for example Dell 15i5 to something like this, and it says Param computer.model name is inaccessible due to its protection level. So we don't have access to that because it is protected. You only can use that inside your class, the same as you use a private attribute. So here we do some stuff also. Here in the base class we pass also model name, and then we set the model name. This dot model name equals to model name, and we pass it here. So model name, I just copy paste this part and remove this and run the application. Now you see manufacturer name is Dell and model name is Dell -15-i5. That's just an example. When you inherit from a class, you get all the public unprotected attributes, methods, and properties, and you are free to add new stuff to your new class, to the child class, as we just did here. We added the string name and the string model name, and we set that set it is value, but we get the model name from the base class or from the parent class. So this was about inheritance and how to inherit and use. Now let's talk about interface. Let us create here an interface iComputer. Interface iComputer, and we say that it should have this display computer info. We want that it has manufacturer name and model name. So string in interface you cannot have fields, so let us use only the manufacturer name property. String manufacturer name, get and set, and we implement the iComputer. You see no problem because we have the display computer method and manufacturer name property. If I comment this, I get an error here, and it says program.iComputer.computer does not implement interface member program.iComputer.manufacturer name. So this is some kind of contract when you implement an interface, you have to you have to provide all the content of the interface in your class that you implement the interface in. So that's why we got that error. Now it gone. The reason we get this error is that here we did not provide curly braces to close the interface. Now it all gone. Let us talk about abstraction. Create an abstract class. We turn this class computer to an abstract class. We add the abstract keyword before the type name class. So we get here an error and it says cannot create an instance of the abstract type or interface. So you cannot create an instance of an abstract class. We inherit from the class computer, so laptop is the child class of computer, but we could create an instance of the class laptop. So this is only the base class that you abstracted, that you protected from modification, and it became also some kind of contract. Whatever is inside this class you can use or use this only as a template for another class, but you cannot use it as a template for other objects to create objects with that class. And you can have abstract member. For example, if I want to turn this display computer as an abstract member, then we see what will happen. Abstract, and it says cannot declare a body because it is marked abstract. So an abstract method cannot have body, so we have to move its body or give a body in the child class. And here we create that method display computer info with the key override void display, and voila, there is an error that says manufacturer name. Because manufacturer name is private, so we don't have this in our child class. You cannot inherit any private member, so we turn this to protect it. Voila. So we have it inside the child class. Now let us talk about polymorphism. In kitchen tools, and here we create a protected string public void console write lion tool is used to, and we inherit from this class. Create another class like part inherit from kitchen tools, and we want to change the content of display tool info. So here we have to say virtual, and here we need to say public override void display kitchen, and here we say that pot is used to cook rice. Same way, let's copy to save time. Copy, paste. We call it pan. I don't know what the hell that means, but say pan is used to cook eggs. Let us use all these classes, including the parent class. So kitchen tool, kt, new kitchen tools, the method kt display info, part, new part dot display info, and new pan dot display info. It is around the application. This tool is used to ... Pot is used to cook rice, pan is used to cook eggs. Now let us use the enum type. You can create enum variable inside or outside the class. You declare enum variable just by using the enum keyword, and you can name it that you name a class. So enum is a non-primitive type, and it is a special class. Is cell phone, desktop, machine, laptop, machine. As an example, just what else you have, like smart devices. Now you have TV, smart TV, smart door, refrigerator, smart cooling system, and a lot. And when you hover over any of these items in your enum variable, you see a value. For example, the first one is 0, the second one is 1. So the first item in any variable in programming language is 0. Even in a string, the first character has the index 0. In an array, the first item has the index 0. In a list, the first item has the index 0. So it also by default starts with 0, but you can overwrite by assigning a new value, for example 7, and the rest change accordingly. Now it is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and you can change another one. For example, here we gave it a 3, so this one is 9, and then 3, and then 4, 5, 6. You can use, for example, enum inside a switch. I talked about switch in the previous chapters. So let us use this enum inside the part. So in kitchen, we have refrigerator. We get the value of the refrigerator. Smart devices dot smart ref. So you have to explicitly convert it to integer, and in your switch you say ref, and then if case is 1, you do something like console dot write something, and then case 2, if case is 5, do that, and then we call also the default. If none of this or we just break. This should actually control it. It's control V. Let's change actually this. We do not assign item 0. We have 1. We have 2. We have 3, and then we have 4, 5, 6, and we have 5. This kitchen has a smart roof. If it is 1, we say this kitchen has a smart desktop machine. That was that was something. Not desktop machine. If it is 2, it is laptop machine. Smart laptop machine. If it is 5, it is refrigerator. By default, we leave the default to have a smart cooling system. This kitchen has a smart cooling system. And let us call this method from the part. Control Shift slash you can use to comment out some lines of code. Part dot get smart tools. See what it does. So this kitchen has a smart refrigerator. So you can use enum for many cases, and they are constants. You can change them at the place that you declare them, like a constant variable, but you cannot change them anywhere in your application other than the initial place. If you have learned 90% of this course, you are 100% ready to work on any C# project. Of course, there are some libraries in .NET and C#, and using those libraries is just calling methods and passing parameters or attributes or arguments, and that is easier than working with if else conditionals or declaring a variable. Declare here a list, say that all the list items will be string, and then here when I call this variable name my, of course I cannot declare a variable inside a class just like that. but you can declare a variable inside a method. So my friend names, and when you put a dot at the end of your variable, then you see all the methods that you can use. Here you have the method add to add an item to your list. You can see the capacity, and here you have intelligence that tells you gives you information about that, and says what does the capacity do. Gets or sets the total number of elements the internal data structure can hold without resizing. IntelliCode suggestion based on this context. So, and then you have clear, you have for each to loop through the items, you have insert, you can use insert to insert an item to a specific index, and then we saw add, you can add range to add multiple items at once, aggregate all, any, append, and you have all these methods on just list. And you have the same thing with array, with dictionary, with any type that you have in C sharp, and any functions also in classes. Most of libraries are class, so you can use all the properties, attributes, and methods very simple and easy, and you don't need to worry about anything. I talked from the very basic to very advanced, which are object-oriented programming and classes, and how to use classes, how to declare classes, and inheritance, abstract, interface, enums, and all of them. So if you learn this stuff, you don't need to have any worry about C sharp. So for now, just at the end, I want to create a real project and show you the best practices in the real project, that you can see how .NET Framework helps you to code faster and much cleaner and better. And .NET Framework gives you a very clear structure for your project. It modularizes your projects, and it places everything on the right place, and keep us everything separated, so that you know what you're doing, and you know what to find where, and etc. So let us close the solution. You can close solution here from the file, create a new project, create a new project. From here we are going to create an ASP.NET MVC, and then you see ASP.NET Core web app with module view controller, that you also can use with RESTful HTTP. Select that, and then next. One more thing, you can create any type of project. You can create a project for web application, for mobile application, for Android application, for iOS application, and then for web application you can also select different frameworks or libraries like React, Angular. Now you also can combine Vue.js with your project. It is very customizable framework, .NET. And Visual Studio is a very user-friendly IDE that you can use as your coding editor. So we just call it test project, and you can select it where you want to place it. Test project app, the solution, it is also a good practice that you give your solution a different name, because your solution is your entire application. It contains all your projects. It is possible that you, for example, later can have multiple projects in your solution or in your application, and to name it just the same as your first project inside of your solution will be a little bit confusing later. So, and this asks you with .NET version you want to use. For now, I have .NET 6 and .NET 7, but I prefer to use .NET 6 long-term support. On authentication, you can select it from the very beginning what type of authentication you want in your application. Individual account, that you create an account, register like in Facebook or elsewhere. You register and then you get your username and password. And then Microsoft Identity Platform and Windows, we choose none. Configure for HTTPS. It is good. It is not something bad. So select in that and then create. You see that .NET Framework generated for us these codes in a very clean structure. We have views, modules, controllers, and inside our views we have like home, shared, view start, and then inside module we have a view module for our views, the data that we send to the client. And then we have controller, and inside the controller you say when you are in a path in a URL, which view should the application return. So .NET is a server-side rendering application. So everything first renders or compiles in the server, and then it is sent to the client. So first everything has to be handled in the backend in the server, and then sent to the client. And then this is actually in the very new version of .NET. When you create an MVC project with the previous versions, you get a little bit different structure. So for JavaScript and CSS and static files like favicon images, you also here get generated another folder www root, and then you have CSS, you have GS, and then you have libraries for your client like Bootstrap, jQuery validation, blah blah blah. And then yeah, this come in .NET automatically if you want or you don't want. But if you don't want, you can just simply remove Bootstrap and jQuery. So my point is that .NET generates most of the codes for you, and gives you a very clean structure that you can use this structure to build on your application. Like you can create here a folder like about for your about page, contact for your contact page, and then inside your module you can create about view module, a contact view module to like send and receive data about your contact, like contact forum. And then you can have here contact controller, about controller, and any other controller. And then you can add another project here just by for example click on your solution name, add new project. For example, if you want to add web API to your project to handle the data, like to store your data in the database, you can select in that and then name your project here, for example API, and then next you can again select authentication and use another stuff, use controllers, and check to use minimal APIs and so stuff that you can check or uncheck. Enable OpenAI support. Those are grabs that you can disable in the beginning, but later if you disable something when you create your project, don't worry about that, because later on you can add that as well. You see, now here we have two projects, one API and one test project, and here again you have the same like structure. You have program, app, settings, JSON, that is all the settings for your project, and then you have some properties, again some settings for your server, dependencies, and inside of this for example you can you can create a folder and call it data to store all the codes for your data, like your modules and your code for communicating to the database. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you learn something from this course and you find it interesting and useful, because it is very important to me. I spend a lot of times to make this course and edit videos and publish the video, and it is very important that you learn something from this course. Thank you so much for watching. Have great times.